Hi! So welcome back. This video was originally something else before what you're seeing right now. So originally this video was going to be me trying to get out of a reading slump, but I literally said in the video, imagine if my next read is like the one that I stick with. So now it's just me guessing the rating of all of these books based on the first 10 pages that I read. So to be honest, this is a pretty good group of books, I feel like, because these are all books that I thought would get me out of a reading slump. So I just always thought that I was gonna rate these books highly, whether it be because I read the first book, because just this one, or whether it just be plot wise or just something that I had like preconceived in my head that I just thought I was gonna rate this something high. So that is why I grouped all of these books together. Really nothing else besides that. So the first book that I decided to read was Lessons in Chemistry. This was a book that I previously started back in March and I just wasn't really into it. I only made it literally one page in and then I just kind of like stopped and started reading something else. So this was the first book I started with. I also recorded videos of me reading this so I can give you like in time like feelings of what I was thinking about then. So we're just gonna cut to her right now, let her say her piece, and then we're gonna come back. I'm on page 7 and this book has single-handedly cured my book slump. I am interested. Dang it. Which is good. But it kind of ruins my concept for the video, I'm not gonna lie. Within the first pick of my book, Lessons in Chemistry, might be a little bit early to tell, but I think this is the book I'm gonna stick with. I've read 7 pages. I'm like invested already, which is great. So I'm gonna finish up my 3 pages just so I can, you know, gather my thoughts and then we'll talk about it. Just finished reading the end of page 7 and it says, his name was Calvin Evans, and that just reminded me of Chris Evans. And I'm like, now in my head, without a description of him, just because his name is Calvin Evans with the same initials as Chris Evans, I'm gonna be picturing Chris Evans, which is not what was intended. Okay, I finished my 10 pages. I've come to the conclusion at the end of page 10 that Chris Evans is not the right man for this. For Lessons in Chemistry, I just immediately was very into the writing style. It really pulled me in and that's really what grabbed me. For those of you who don't know, Lessons in Chemistry is a book that takes place in the 1950s/1960s, and our main character is Elizabeth. She's a scientist, a woman in STEM in the 1950s. If you catch my drift, obviously she's surrounded by men in the field, and it's just kind of like, you know, dealing with what it's like to be a woman in science, or just like literally a girl in a male-dominated field. And it's just kind of about like her life. I don't know if you've seen like the promo for the TV show, but I know that in the show, and obviously it's based off the book, that she gets her own cooking show, like kind of like based around science, because chemistry is cooking. That's kind of what her show surrounds. So that's what this is about in less words. In the first 10 pages, she's talking about how she has a daughter. I'll say this first. So her daughter like goes to school and she comes back and she's like really hungry. And Elizabeth's like, why are you hungry? Like she's a scientist. So she purposely measured out all of the measurements of what she needs to like, you know, help with her growing, and so she won't be hungry. So she's perfectly planned that out. So when she comes home and she says, Mom, I'm hungry, she was like, why are you hungry? Like, based on my calculations, you should be all right, which was really interesting to me. So just like her way of thinking is also really appealing and really interesting to me. Within the first couple pages, she meets with the man who will offer her her TV show. So this one was the one that pulled me out, and I'm currently reading it and I really like it. After I read the first 10 pages, I thought I was gonna rate it a 4.6 out of 5 stars. I can't tell you what I rated it yet because I am still reading it. So my prediction is a 4.6 out of 5 stars. And I will probably make another video like with an update, like saying how all of these books turned out and like what I actually rated them, so we can compare like if my star radar was off or something. Anxious People is the book that I read next. I was really excited about this. From what I gathered, this is also like me going into books blind, so I'm giving you like basically in my head summary of the book. From my understanding, Anxious People is about the people who are being held hostage during a bank heist. So in my head, that's more of like a character-driven story, like diving into like each of these people's like life and seeing how everything goes about that way. I read the first 10 pages of this. Let's see if past me has anything to say. So I just read the cover and I'm just like baffled because, like, listen. A charming, poignant novel about a crime that never took place, a would-be bank robber who disappears into thin air, and 8 extremely anxious strangers who find they have more in common than they ever imagined. What? Imagined. Why did I say it like imagined? Anyways, I knew in the back of my mind, I know it was about a bank robbery, but this really got me kind of like invested. That's a good intro. That's a really good intro. Okay, so I just finished the first 10 pages of Anxious People, and right off the bat, I think I'm just gonna have to get really comfortable with this writing style. I'm just gonna let future me give you more insight and give you a rating as to what I think this book will be. So I read the first 10 pages of this, and unlike Lessons in Chemistry, I feel like I just really have to get used to the writing style in this book. To me, at least at first, I haven't gotten used to it. I just read the first 10 pages. It was really chaotic, the writing style, so I feel like I really just have to get used to it. And maybe once I get used to it, I can just really get into it and like be focused. But this would not have pulled me out of a book slump. I'm just saying that. I just know that off the bat because there's just like a lot going on and a lot of tangents I feel like that the author goes through. But even with the writing style being like that, like I said, like kind of chaotic, I feel like I am gonna have to go back when I decide to pick this up again and reread the 10 pages and really pay attention to kind of like grasp everything that's happening. I just really want to learn more about the robbery that's happening and about all of the characters that were mentioned in the first 10 pages. So I gave this a rating of a 3.4 out of 5 stars, mostly because of the writing style. That could change. I could get really used to it and learn to like it, but as of right now, in the first 10 pages, I gave it a 3.4. Iron Flame. I originally gave Fourth Wing a 4.2 out of 5 stars. It took me 70 pages to really get into Fourth Wing. So because of that, I feel like I'm gonna give this one a little bit of a grace period, since it might take a few more pages to get into it. Now that I know that reading Fourth Wing first, obviously this is the second book in the series. I can't tell you what this is about, because I don't know. I finished the first book. I'm going to this one completely blind. I know a lot of people didn't like this or thought it wasn't a very good sequel. But based on the first 10 pages, they were really like refresher pages, and that really helped me out because I read Fourth Wing, I think in March or April. We're currently in July. 4 months ago. So I did need a little bit of a refresher, and that was great. We'll see if like me has anything to say. If not, we'll just keep going here. So I'm gonna start on Iron Flame. I was just like flipping through the pages to look for the first page, and it says you know, like the disclaimers, and I like skimmed it, but then I really read it. It says includes elements regarding war, psychological and physical torture, imprisonment, intense violence, brutal injuries, perilous situations, blood, dismemberment, burning, murder, death, animal death. I love how that's what gets me personally. I'm good with psychological and physical torture, dismemberment, burning, murder, and death, but animal death is where I draw the line. Let's get into it though. We have our example of what's going on with all of the sections. I'm kind of excited about this. So I'm gonna read my 10 pages and I'll get back to you. I feel like the end of Fourth Wing isn't lining up correctly with the beginning of Iron Flame. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. And I'm on page 2. But this could be taking us back in time to before what we saw at the end of Fourth Wing. I'm trying to figure out the timeline. Hello, I'm back. I finished the first 10 pages of Iron Flame, and we're just like going back and like getting a reminder and a refresher as to what happened in the end of what's it called, Fourth Wing. it's a good refresher is what I mean to say. So I'll just tell you my thoughts. The 10 pages, I mean, I like them. I like the refresher, especially not having reread Fourth Wing. Based on the kind of surrounding conversation on the book, I have low expectations. So I'm predicting my rating to be a 3.5 out of 5 stars when I finish this book. Then I picked up romantic comedy. Let's see if I have anything to say. If not, I don't remember what I said. It's been like a few days. I did that in the beginning of the week, so I can't remember. So if not, we're gonna continue here. But romantic comedy seems like, I feel like a basic romance. Is that harsh? I don't know. It's like a romance. It's like the genre, but to me it feels like a basic romance, at least at first. So I read 14 pages instead of 10 because the first couple pages are set up really weird. So I just went ahead and read 14. From the start, I'm gathering that it kind of takes place in an SNL kind of atmosphere. This girl, I can't remember her name, Sally. I've never met anyone named Sally, but Sally works for SNL. She's a writer, and she has this coworker who met his wife, who's a really big celebrity there, and she's like, I never meet anyone, but I'm guessing that's gonna change. But from what I read, I really don't see anything that's like popping off the page, at least in the first 10 pages. So because of that, I'm gonna give this a rating of a 3.2 or a 3.3 out of 5 stars. That's my rating for right now. It could get better, but right now it's just nothing is wowing me. So that's my rating. Predicted rating, I should say. Then I read the first 10 pages of The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. So this is about kind of a journalistic piece that is covering Evelyn Hugo and her life when she was like a really big star in the 60s. And the mystery behind this book is that for some reason, Evelyn Hugo has personally asked for Monique to write her piece. Her, you know, her column. What was it called? You know what I mean? Like the piece on her. And the thing is that this is so confusing because Monique is fairly new to the magazine. So everyone's like, why does Evelyn want her to write this piece? Are there personal ties to her? Or that's just kind of what we're trying to figure out, especially in the first 10 pages. Everything's like being set up that Monique is just this newbie and she's being picked by one of the biggest celebrities ever to write her piece. While I knew the premise to this book, the concept is really interesting on paper, especially since Monique is new to the company. Like, I want to figure out why she's being picked, personal ties possibly, and, you know, just unraveling like the secrets of Evelyn Hugo. Is that cheesy? The first 10 pages really did a good job of making me want to learn more about Evelyn Hugo and all about her life, because they're talking about her in the 60s and, you know, her miraculous like 7 husbands. Like, why did she get married so many times? What happened in her relationships and things like that. So I want to learn more about her. I'm interested in this book. I can see this being anywhere between a 3.8 to a 4.2 or 3 based only on what I just read, which is the first 10 pages. Previously, before I, you know, read the 10 pages, since everyone really likes this book, I thought this was going to be a 5-star read. But just right now, I feel like it would be like a 3.8 to a 4.3 max. That could change. The story, the plot thickens. It always thickens. So I'm hoping to do a reading vlog on this just to document everything and see how everything turns out. So yeah, this is kind of my order. I kind of put first on the bottom, but should I do it this way? So first would be Lessons in Chemistry, and then The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, Iron Flame, Anxious People, and then Romantic Comedy is kind of the way I see the scale going. So yeah, those are all of my thoughts based on the first 10 pages of all of these books. This would be a really fun read. I feel like most of these now, after I've read the first 10 pages, I'm really excited for, especially Lessons in Chemistry, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and Iron Flame. Honestly, I'm into it. I've been refreshed about the whole world and all of the events that happened, and I see myself going back into fantasy sometime soon. So Iron Flame is something I feel like I'll pick up soon. So thanks for watching. I'll see you soon, and that's it for today. Thank you. Bye.